The tube was never built for something his size, and he knew it the moment the cradle locked his shoulders in place. I heard the breath go ragged over the calm before I'd even started the sequence, a long, scraping inhale that rattled the steel walls of the bay. "Don't move yet," I said. "I need one more breath count before I start." His voice came back thin, threaded through the speaker grill like it had to squeeze past something tight in his chest to get out. "It is small in here." "It's small for me too, and I'm not even in it." That got something close to a laugh, cut short by a wince I could hear more than see. Veyron was an old slate-blue dragon, scarred along one wing from some border skirmish decades before I was born, and there was a fragment of something metal lodged a finger's width from his heart that nobody, not the clinic in Dressel's Ford, not the field medic who'd patched the entry wound, had been able to map without a full-depth scan. He'd walked 4 days to reach us. He'd folded himself into a chamber built for transport crates because the alternative was dying not knowing what was killing him. I had the sequence half-loaded when someone hit the clinic's outer door hard enough to rattle the supply shelves. Ren. My supervisor, Dale, leaned into the scan bay doorway, face gone tight. "Claim crew. 3 of them, armed, saying they tracked a rogue here and they want the bounty body before it wakes up and runs." "He's not a rogue. He's a patient. They don't care what we call him." I looked through the observation glass at the chamber, at the long blue shape barely contained inside it, at the readout ticking upward as his heart rate climbed with the noise from the lobby. If he startled now, if he so much as flinched inside that field, the scan would scramble and we'd have to start over. And starting over meant another 20 minutes of him locked rigid in a box too small for his body while 3 armed men argued their way toward the door. "Stall them," I said. "I need 8 minutes. Ren." 8 minutes, Dale. He went. I turned back to the calm. "Veyron. Stay with my voice. There is shouting." His claws scraped once against the chamber's inner lining, a small sound, but it was enough to spike the readout. "There's always shouting somewhere. It's not yours to carry right now. Your job for the next 8 minutes is to breathe the way I tell you and nothing else." I kept my voice level, the way I'd learned to keep it for every patient who'd ever gone rigid in that tube, human, draconic, the one badly frightened ridge cat we'd had to sedate twice. "In for 4. Hold for 2. Out for 6. With me." He matched it. Barely, but he matched it, and the readout settled half a point. The shouting in the lobby got louder. I heard Dale's voice, even installing, telling them the clinic's scan equipment couldn't be interrupted mid-sequence without risking a magnetic discharge that could cook every Phillip in the building, a lie, mostly, but a useful one, the kind that bought time without anyone having to draw a weapon to back it up. "In for 4, I said again, because it was the only thing I had to give him that was true. Something hit the wall outside the bay, a shoulder, maybe, or a fist, and the readout jumped a full point before settling. Veyron's claws found the lining again, and this time the scrape didn't stop after one sound. "Talk faster," he said. "Not louder. Faster doesn't carry past the door the way the shouting does. You're telling me how to do my job. I am telling you what works." A thin, strained sound that might have been the laugh trying again. "It is the only thing I have left to give either of us." So I talked faster, quieter, closer to the grill, the 4 count, then the names of the bones the field medic had already set wrong and I'd have to set right after this, then the weather outside that he couldn't see and I made up half of, because none of it mattered except that it was a voice that wasn't shouting. Somewhere in the middle of describing a sky I hadn't actually looked at, his heart rate came back down off the spike and held. "Why are you still talking to me?" Veyron said, instead of locking the door. "Because you're the patient and they're not. Hold. 6 minutes left." The first pass of the skin crawled across my screen in slow gray bands, and somewhere in the 3rd band I saw it, a dense, bright knot sitting just shy of the pericardial wall, close enough that a wrong angle of extraction would have killed him on a field table years ago. Close enough that nobody who'd looked before had dared go looking harder. I see it, I said. I see exactly where it is. Is it bad? It's findable. That's better than bad. I didn't tell him the rest, that an inch the other way and we'd be having a very different conversation. He didn't need that weight added to the one already pinning him still. The lobby door banged again, hard, and this time I heard would give somewhere. For minutes, I said, mostly to myself, and started the second pass. The lights in the bay dimmed once, a half-second brownout that meant somewhere down the corridor someone had put a boot through the breaker panel trying to force a door. The scanner held its charge barely, the backup cell whining under the load, but for one full second I thought I'd have to abort the pass and start the whole sequence over with him still wedged in that cradle, still holding a breath that was costing him more than I wanted to know. It didn't abort. The image kept resolving. Dale's voice cracked through, no longer stalling. Ren, they're in the hall. I didn't look up from the screen. Out for 6. With me, Varun. Don't you dare flinch on me now. He held. God knows how, wedged into a box too small with 3 armed strangers 4 meters and 1 thin wall away, he held his breath the way I'd told him to and let the second pass run clean. The image resolved. The fragment sat there in gray and white, mapped to the millimeter, surgical from here on. The door at the end of the corridor opened. I came out of the scan bay between Varun and the hallway because there wasn't room to think of a better idea, and found 3 men in mismatched plating, one with a rifle held low and ready, the other 2 with hands on knives they hadn't drawn yet. He's a patient, I said. Mid-procedure. You walk in there now, you kill him faster than your bounty ever would have, and you'll explain that to whoever's checking your claim. The one with the rifle looked past me, into the bay, at the long blue shape still locked rigid in the cradle, eyes half closed, breathing in the slow 4 count I'd given him like it was the only solid thing left in the world. He didn't look like a rogue. He looked like something holding very still because someone had asked him to. That was when the building shook, not from the door this time, but from outside, a low rolling boom of wing beats settling onto the clinic's loading apron, enough of them that the windows hummed. The Ashvale brood had been 3 days behind Varun's trail, following the same distress call that had sent him walking on his own 4 days before that, a call he'd never had the strength to repeat once he reached us. They came down onto the apron in a column, 8 strong, led by a copper-scaled elder twice Varun's size, and the claim crew's rifle dropped to the floor of its own accord, the man's hand going slack around it before his brain had finished deciding to let go. The elder didn't look at the man at all. She looked through the observation glass at Varun, still in the cradle, still breathing his slow count though the scan had finished and there was no reason left to hold it, and something in her face changed, the way stone changes when the light finally hits it right. He held still, she said, to no one and everyone. For her. Nobody argued with that. The claim crew left the way claim crews leave when the math has changed underneath them, quickly, and without their rifle. I unlocked the cradle myself once the bay cleared, and Varun unfolded out of it slow, joint by joint, the way anything does after being made small for longer than it was built to bear. You knew where it was, he said. Before they came. I knew where it was, I said, about 4 minutes before you knew you were still breathing. He lowered his head until we were level, slate eyes catching the bay's flat clinic light, and didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. The elder paid the clinic for the scan twice over before they ever lifted off, and left a standing word with Dale that any of their kin who came through Halworth Crossing wounded were to be brought to the technician who talked, not the one who'd talk later. I still run the same sequence today, same 4 count, same 6 count out, for whoever's locked rigid in that tube too small for them. Most of them never find out a kingdom was listening on the other side of a door I couldn't even lock. I think that's mostly the point.